Welcome to the Wild News Network. Hi, I'm Haley.
And I'm Mia, and today we have 7 very important news issues to cover in our report. First up, we have Nevaeh to give us an exciting report on blue whales. Did you know blue whales are one of the biggest animals in the world? I am so excited to hear about this.
Did you know that blue whales are one of the biggest whales? There are lots of different kinds of whales. Today we are going to be focusing on blue whales. Blue whales have been around for a while. They're probably older than your grandmother. Ha ha ha. If you don't know a lot about blue whales, they are pretty big whales. Today we are going to be talking about their habitats and what makes them so big, and also baby blue whales. Blue whales live in all different kind of oceans. They live in the equator, the Pacific, and the Atlantic, and more. In the summer, feeding areas are in or near the waters of the cold polar regions. They can migrate thousands of miles between the winter and summer habitats. When they are pregnant, they can't be in the cold water, so they migrate to a warmer area. What makes blue whales so big? Their diet. Blue whales only eat one thing. That is krill. Krill are these little tiny fishes that are almost all transparent. But blue whales eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Krill is nutrients, and blue whales can devour over 10,000 pounds and 4,536 kilograms of krill a day. Can you believe that? Krills are so small that they can have so much to eat and to be full. They are different kinds of krill, and some are smaller than shrimp that people eat. Can you believe that blue whales eat that all day? For the first year, blue whales stay with their mothers. The baby gains over 200 pounds or 90 kilograms when it's 7 months old. It is about 50 feet long and it weighs almost 46,000 pounds. A mother can lose as much as 1,000 pounds or 45,400 kilograms. The mother can't leave the baby's side until it is ready to be on its own, and you can tell when it is starting to do a lot by itself. Then it should be ready to be on its own. Blue whales are the largest animals ever known to have lived on Earth. I can hardly believe it is. I would have thought dinosaurs were. However, these large and hungry animals have been around for quite some time and are still fascinating to learn about.
Thank you, Nevaeh. Coming up next, we are excited to hear about dolphins from Mia. But before that, did you know that dolphins can swim up to 2,300 feet? Let's learn more now.
You probably have read about a dolphin before. It probably said something like this: dolphins live in the water and they're the next best thing from sharks. Well, I think the opposite. I believe dolphins are better than sharks. The first area of a dolphin's life someone should know is their diet. The second area is their bodies. Lastly, the third area is their habitat. Dolphins' diet is pretty interesting. It is also way different from ours. You probably think a dolphin's diet would probably just be fish. Well, yes, they do eat fish, but there's way more to it than that. A dolphin's diet consists of squid, shrimp, and many different types of fish. Did you know that dolphins use their teeth to snatch their prey? With their strong, sharp teeth, you would probably think that they would chew their food. Well, believe it or not, dolphins swallow their food whole. Dolphins are actually carnivores too. If they need to, they can dive 2,300 feet deep to catch prey. Well, actually, dolphins don't hunt alone. They travel in groups of 15 to 20 dolphins. They use that method to catch schools of fish. A dolphin's body has advantages too. When they hunt and kill, a dolphin's body may look identical to a shark's. However, dolphins have amazing features to their own wonderful bodies. A dolphin's tail are large and powerful. Their tails actually help them glide gracefully in the water. Dolphins' eyes are very powerful too. They have amazing eyesight underwater. Did you know that their skin is rubbery to the touch? They have bullet-shaped bodies too, kind of like sharks. Blubber is part of their bodies. It acts as a layer of fat. Flippers on the dolphin's tail help them navigate where they are going. Many different types of dolphins, and many of them have different habitats. You would think that a dolphin's habitat is just in the ocean. You are correct, but there's actually more to it, like where in the world, or if they live in lakes or even the bay. Different types of dolphins all have different places where they live in the world. Bottlenose dolphins live in the world oceans. Spotted and spinner only live in warm waters. Species like the Pacific white-sided are only found in cool oceans. Extremely rare river dolphins are found in the muddiest rivers of Asia. The viqua is also found in the Gulf of Mexico. You probably thought before knowing anything about dolphins at all, dolphins live in oceans. I thought from reading about dolphins' diet, body, and habitat, that I would think that their body is the most important. The body of a dolphin has so many advantages. The most important thing about how dolphins hunt and kill, works with their bodies. After listening to all of this, the real question is if you really like dolphins. I couldn't have said it better myself. Next for today, we have Cameron reporting on rattlesnakes. These dangerous snakes use their rattle to defend themselves. And I know Cameron will be telling us more about this in his report.
Have you ever gone to a desert and heard a rattle? Well, it was probably a rattlesnake. Rattlesnakes are interesting creatures. A lot of people think that snakes are bad and horrifying creatures with very slimy skin. First of all, snakes aren't even slimy. They are very smooth, and most snakes are harmless. If they are dangerous, let them be. Have you ever thought about what rattlesnakes eat? Rattlesnakes eat what most snakes eat, like rats, mice, and birds, but their favorite food is small rodents and lizards. They rely on their brownish color to keep camouflage. They hide, then strike in less than a second. Then they wait a little bit longer till the prey dies. When they are ready to eat, they expand their mouth and eat it whole. Should you see a rattlesnake, you will know what and how they eat. Do you know their defense? Almost everyone knows that rattlesnakes have a rattle, but do you know what they use it for? Rattlesnakes use their rattle when there are predators. They usually run away, but if they can't, they coil up and rattle. Now you know the defense as well as the diet, but you still don't know baby rattlesnakes. Baby rattlesnakes are tinier than you think. They are usually inches when they are born. And eastern diamondback rattlesnakes' babies are about 12 inches and 3 ounces. Rattlesnakes give birth to about 8 to 15 babies, and they usually give birth every 2 years. Also, mother rattlesnakes don't take care of their young. They just let them off on their own. Baby rattlesnakes are unique. Same with all the other interesting traits. You still may not think rattlesnakes are cool, but you might like other snakes like ball pythons and garter snakes. In all, you learn what rattlesnakes eat and how they eat. You also learned what their defense is, along with baby rattlesnakes. I hope you learned a lot from this, and maybe you look more into snakes and maybe even get one.
Thank you for an awesome report, Cameron. Now we are going to hear from Olivia as she reports on dolphins. I hear that dolphins have a very good eyesight. Underwater, let's hear what she has to say.
Dolphins are lovely creatures. They are my personal favorite. The sea is an amazing habitat and hold many incredible animals and things that haven't been discovered yet. Dolphins are very intelligent and can sometimes understand what humans are saying. Crazy, right? Did you know that dolphins have an animal family that might not seem like a dolphin? I'm talking about orcas. Orcas are very powerful and fast. Orcas are also very smart. Maybe after this, dolphins will be your favorite animal. And you might be wondering what some shapes and sizes dolphins can be. You might think they are all the same shapes and sizes, but that's actually not true. Now let's talk about the shapes and sizes. In fact, dolphins aren't actually all the same size and shape. Did you know that an orca is the biggest dolphin?
Yes, an orca is a dolphin. There are so many facts about the dolphin family that are surprising. Dolphins might seem really heavy or really light to you, but in reality they actually only weigh 175 pounds. And when they are adults, they only get up to 5 to 8 feet long. That's super short for sea creatures, especially compared to the blue whale, the biggest sea animal there is. Also, something else that might surprise you is that they can dive up to 1,000 feet. Now that's insane. Now let's move on to the shapes. Dolphins usually have a V-shaped groove that sets off its forehead. Dolphins also have short, stiff necks. They also have a streamlined, short, torpedo-shaped body. Their bodies are larger in the front than the back. Now that you know all about dolphin shapes and sizes, let's move on to their 5 senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. Now we're going to be talking about the dolphins' 5 senses and how strong they are. As a matter of fact, dolphins have the same senses as humans: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Dolphins have the same senses as humans, but their strongest sense is sight. Dolphins can see very well in water and out of water. They can dive up to 2,300 feet in the air to catch prey. They can only do that because of their incredible sight. Their vision range is 180 degrees. They can see forward, backward, and sideways, but not upward. That's surprising, but very cool. Now let's move on to dolphins' next best sense. Dolphins have 2 to 3 times more cells in the ear than humans. Dolphins detect low and high frequency sound waves and tone of sounds. Dolphins have great hearing, but do they have great touch? Yes, they do. The use of echolation gives dolphins the possibility of knowing the shape, size, and density of some species or dangers. I wish I could do that. Now let's move on to the taste. Some dolphins can only identify 4 basic flavors, which are sweet, salty, bitter, and sour. I'm glad we can taste more than that. Now, the smell of dolphins isn't really discovered, so all we know is that their smell is non-existent or very limited. Now you know all about dolphins' 5 senses. Now let me introduce you to facts about dolphins and their babies. Did you know that dolphin calves can measure up to 39 inches and 22 pounds? Short-beaked dolphins live up to 35 years, and if they're lucky, they can live up to 40 years. Young dolphins are called calves. Adult males are called bulls, and adult females are called cows. Baby dolphins learn to copy after their mother, and some things they learn are how to leap, dive, and catch fish. This also might sound surprising, but baby dolphins are born underwater. Now you know a lot of facts about dolphins and their babies. Dolphins are amazing creatures, don't you think? Now you know all about dolphins. I hope you like dolphins. They're fantastic creatures and they make great sea animals. Dolphins are one of my favorite animals, and they might be yours too. There are many great things about them, but I talked about 3 of them. That is their shape and their size, dolphins' 5 senses and how strong they are, and their babies, and facts about dolphins in general. My favorite thing was the 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. There are many great facts about all their senses. What was your favorite? Now, what do you think about dolphins? I hope you love them too.
Wow, thank you, Olivia. Next up, we have Haley giving us a report on the great white sharks. She will have a lot for us to learn, such as the fact that sharks roll their eyes back before they kill their prey. Fantastic.
Do you know anything about great white sharks? Of all the great things to learn about sharks, today's report will include their body, diet, and habitat. These fascinating creatures live in the spaces all around us, and it's best to know all you can about them. You may ask what a great white shark looks like. How do they swim? There's so much to learn. First is great white shark's teeth. If a tooth falls out, it grows right back in, even if it's an adult tooth. They are also very sharp. Second is their eyes. When they go to kill their prey, the shark rolls its eyes to the back of their head so they don't hurt their eyes. Third is their skin. Their skin is gray and white and very bumpy like sandpaper. Lastly, great whites' fins and tail. Their tail and fins help them swim very fast. Did you know that that great whites can weigh up to 2,268 kilograms. Even though their body is important, I believe their diet is vital to understanding the great white. You might be wondering what a great white shark's diet includes. Great white sharks usually hunt alone because they don't want to scare their prey away. Their diet contains seals, sea lions, turtles, basically anything, but their favorite food is birds. Great whites have to be sneaky to catch their prey. To keep their prey in sight, their skin is gray on the top and white on the bottom. So their prey can barely see them. The food that female sharks eat is what they catch themselves. Great whites even hunt at depths of 1,200 meters. The diet of a great white shark is interesting. Another key thing to learn about great white sharks is their habitat. A great white shark's habitat is where they live. Great whites spread all the way from North America to China. They usually spend most of their time in sandy parts of the ocean or reefs. They usually stay about 20 to 30 feet or 6 to 9 meters below the surface of the ocean. They like temperatures between 54 and 75. Great whites also live near land. If they are not on the move, they never stop moving. Believe it or not, the most unique part of great white shark's habitat is that it isn't just one spot, but all over the ocean in different spots every day. Personally, I find the great white shark's diet is to be the most important thing to learn about them. As you heard, great whites can weigh up to 2,268 kilograms. Do you think this is crazy? They also live all over in places like China, Hawaii, and a lot more. Their diet is variety because they eat sea lions, sea turtles, seals, and more. Great white's habitat is unique because, believe it or not, they don't stay in one spot and they are always moving. Hopefully, after listening to this report, you like the great whites as much as I do.
Thank you, Issue on sharks was very important. Thank you, Haley. Next, we have a very important essay on wild horses. Before that, did you know that wild horses are sometimes called monstrains? To Michael.
Have you ever seen a wild horse running at the speed of light? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But if you're interested, then this is for you. Well, today I'll be talking about wild horses, telling you what they are, where they are, and their diet. What are wild horses? Most people, when they think of wild horses, their mind goes to barns and riding, all of that, but never really think about wild horses. So let's talk about that. Wild horses are, wild. They have no owners, and sometimes they may even be called mustangs, which is the English word for mustang, which means feral. But wild horses are not necessarily feral. They just get easily scared by people and other animals. Really, all a wild horse is wild, has no owner, and will do whatever it takes to survive. What do wild horses eat? Wild horses don't have people feeding them all the time. So what do they eat? Like I brought up earlier, wild horses do what it takes to survive. So they will basically eat anything. They eat the things they would regularly eat is grass, leaves, and wildflowers, and sometimes twigs. After a whole lifetime of eating, their teeth die down, making it hard for them to survive. Starving horses may even eat bark from trees, or even their own fur. Now that you know a little bit about wild horses, you may be asking where to find them. There's no one area where wild horses live, but most live in the over west. When you find a wild horse, they will usually stay in one general area for most of their life. To get a little bit more specific, you could look at watering holes, fields, deserts, etc. If you find you are looking for a specific breed, then you might want to look at the weather, because if they have a bigger coat of fur, they will be able to live in colder areas. Now you know a little bit more about wild horses, because you have now learned about where they live, their diet, and where they are. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Michael, for that amazing report on wild horses. Lastly, we have Hannah, reporting on cats. Hannah told me that cats love the dark and have amazing night vision. Let's hear more about it.
Of all the animals in the world, the cat is a household favorite. There are many cat fur types with a variety of fur colors. Also, the key to learning about them is their senses and their instincts. In addition, there are a lot of cat breeds. Cats are a great pet to have at home. They make fantastic friends and can comfort you if you're having a bad day. Cats are the best pet you can ever have. Personally, they are my favorite animal. Hopefully at the end of this you will have a new favorite pet, or you might want to convince your parents to get a cat. First up, I will tell you about their fur types and cat fur colors. First up, there are lots of long-haired cats. Some long-haired cats are Persian, Maine Coon, and Angora. There are also short-haired cats. To name a few, there are Devon Rex, American Wirehair, British Shorthair, and Sphynx for short-haired cats. There are a few new ones that are called Fawn and Cinnamon. There are also older colors, and there are quite a few of them, about 15. The more common colors are cream, lavender, blue that looks bluish gray, white that is a red and orange mixed, chestnut, black chinchilla, cream shell, cameo-per, cream shaded Persian, red shaded Persian, and blue smoke Persian. Some of the color names are unique, such as black smoke Persian, silver Sorial Somali, and ruddy Abyssinian Persian. Those are all the fur types and colors that I know. More interesting than the fur colors are cats' senses and instincts. Cats have many senses and instincts. Some of these instincts include catnapping, first meeting, escaping, making friends, hunting, catching, and seeing in the dark. Cats may sleep for up to 3/4 of the day, especially when they are kittens. Cats tend to be wary when they first meet males, being most likely to show aggression. The term escaping is done by most female cats. They are very diligent and keep a close watch on their kittens. Any cats that stray too far are likely to be carried back, held in the mother's mouth. Cats are animals that are able to make friends. Kittens rear together to become closer companions, spending most of their time together. Although cats are born with a natural hunting instinct, they have to learn specific skills required. They do this in early kittenhood by observing their mother and other cats. Their skills have to be practiced repeatedly in order to become perfected. Cats might go hunting if they are wild or if they need food for their kids. In addition to hunting skills, cats also have catching skills. The games that kittens love to play enable them to practice specific hunting skills, such as stalking and catching. Lastly, cats are able to see in the dark. As night hunters, cats rely on a special layer of cells, tapetum lucidum, behind the retina at the back of their eyes. This layer of cells reflects light back, increasing its intensity. This causes the cat's eyes to glow in the dark. Those are the things cats have for their senses and instincts. While the many instincts and senses are interesting, the best thing about cats is that there are so many breeds to choose from. There are many kinds of cat breeds. I will be sharing quite a bit of them. Some, maybe a lot of them, you won't know. A few of the breeds that are harder to pronounce are Abyssinian, Balinese, Javanese, Burmese, and Chartrax. Now here are some breeds you might be more familiar with. They are Tabby, Persian cat, Maine Coon, Calico, and Bengal. There are lots of cat breeds, so it might take a little long. First I have American Bobtail, American Curl, American Shorthair, American Wirehair, Burman, Bombay, British Shorthair, and the last 3 breeds that I will share today are Cornish Rex, Devon Rex, and finally Egyptian Mau cat. Those are all the things that make up a cat's appearance and their senses and instincts. Now that you know about cats' fur colors and types, like long and short fur, their senses and instincts, and lastly breeds, I hope you like cats and might even want to get one. Lastly, everything you need to know is some cats have long fur while others have short fur. There are many different colors a cat can be. Cats have many different senses and many instincts. Cats are really great animals, and I recommend getting a cat. I have one of my own, and it's a great pet to have, especially if you're feeling down or tired. There are so many kinds of cats that you can get.
Thank you for tuning in today to Wild News Network.
Welcome to Hobby Kids News. I'm Caden.
I'm Gabriel.
And I'm Stella. Today we will be reporting a number of hobbies.
Let's get started.
The first report we'll be hearing about involves Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter in history. Let's go over to Tyler to hear more about it.
Stephen Curry is a very inspirational person. He is one of the best shooters of all time, if not one of the greatest. He is an award-winning NBA player. In this report, I will be telling you about 4 important areas you should know about Steph. Let's start by learning more about his childhood and adult life. His NBA career achievements and awards. Steph was born on March 14, 1988 in Akron, Ohio. As a child, he played a lot of basketball. His dad was an NBA player who played for lots of different teams, like the Charlotte Hornets. His dad's name was Dell. His mom, Sonia, played volleyball. Steph has 2 siblings, Seth, who plays basketball, and his sister, Saida, who plays volleyball. When Steph was getting ready to pick his college, he only had a couple of schools interested in him. He picked to go to Davidson College. In 2011, he married Aisha Alexander. He also has 2 daughters, Riley and Ryan, and a son named Kenan. Steph had an amazing childhood and so far a great adult life. He also has had an amazing NBA career. Steph started his career by getting drafted to the Golden State Warriors. His first 2 seasons, he was doing pretty good, averaging 17.5 points, 5.9 assists, and 1.9 steals per game. The next season, he had to have ankle surgery. The same season he injured his ankle was his worst season ever, averaging only 14 points per game. Steph's team set a record for most games won in a row with 24. During almost every game, Steph writes a positive message on his shoes. So far in his career, Steph has scored 20,064 points and has gotten 538 assists. Steph's career has been outstanding. Due to his outstanding career, he has been given a lot of awards. Steph started his awards by almost winning Rookie of the Year. He set the NBA's most three-pointers scored in a single season with 272. The next season, he beat his record by 14 of 286 three-pointers made in a single season. Then the next season, he shredded his record by 116 with 402 made in a single season. He was the first NBA player to be named MVP unanimously in NBA history. Steph was the fastest player to get to 2,000 three-pointers made. Steph has won a lot of awards. Even better than the awards, he has some even more amazing achievements. One of many achievements Steph has received is being one of the greatest shooters of all time. Another is just making it to the NBA. He also has won multiple MVP awards and three-point contest wins. Steph helped Golden State to 3 championships. In addition, he also won the most games won in a single season with 73 wins and 9 losses as a team. One of Steph's newest records happened on December 14, 2021. He broke Ray Allen's record with the most three-pointers made in a career with 2,974. Stephen Curry is a name people know for being one of the best shooters to ever play the game. He has won tons of awards, like the first ever All-Star Kobe Bryant trophy, and has had some amazing achievements. Overall, Steph has had an amazing career in life. From Steph himself, success isn't an accident, it is actually a choice.
Thanks, Tyler, for that report. Stephen Curry won't be the only basketball player we discussed today. Another NBA player coming up in the next report is LeBron James. Beckett will be telling us about how his considered the GOAT in basketball.
LeBron James was born on December 30th, 1984 in Akron, Ohio. LeBron is also one of the greatest NBA players of all time. One of the reasons LeBron is so good is because he can play almost every position on the court. He can shoot great, dribble great, pass, and play defense amazing. He also has 4 NBA championships to show for it. He won 1 in Cleveland, 2 in Miami, and 1 in LA. He won a ring in with every NBA team he played for, even twice with Miami. LeBron has also played with so many NBA superstars like Shaq, Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, and Anthony Davis. LeBron also has 3 kids, Bryce, Zuri, and Bronny. Bronny is the oldest out of all the kids at age 17, and Zuri is the middle child at age 14, and Bryce is the youngest at age 7. Now, that's a lot of background information. Now I'll focus on the next on the nice things LeBron does for his community. LeBron James does a lot of nice things for his community. LeBron grew up poor, and he did not want kids to grow up the way he did. To help stop that, he opened up his own I Promise school. He also helped with funding for kids so they can go to college. LeBron also donates to so many charities like youth homelessness. LeBron is also the greatest Cleveland Cavalier of all time. Those are just a few nice things LeBron does for his community. LeBron is a very interesting person, and that makes it so he has so many fun facts about himself. Did you know that LeBron James was drafted into the NBA the year Michael Jordan retired? I also bet you didn't know that LeBron was drafted right out of high school. Speaking of being drafted, LeBron is one of the youngest NBA players of all time. Lastly, did you know LeBron James and Stephen Curry were born in the same hospital? LeBron Raymond James was drafted into the NBA in 2003. He also is still playing in the NBA until his son Bronny and him play on the same team. That will happen in about 2 years. LeBron has also played 19 seasons. In this report, you learned about LeBron's family, career, fun facts, and nice things he does for his community. Nice things he does on and off the court. You hopefully also learned that through it all, LeBron Raymond James is a nice guy.
All great information, Beckett. While basketball has been discussed, another sport Gabriel will be reporting on today is lacrosse. Before it was called lacrosse, the Native Americans called it the game of Bagataway. Let's learn more about it.
Have you ever heard of lacrosse? Well, it's an exciting sport, and you are guaranteed to have a good time if you start playing it. Lacrosse is simple. There are different things about lacrosse, like girls and boys lacrosse. There is much information about lacrosse that I can't just say in one thing about this topic. You have to learn how to play lacrosse, how to participate in face-offs and draws. In the native history of lacrosse, as there are many tribes that play lacrosse. Well, let's lead into more about lacrosse and why it's such an amazing sport. What is the difference between girls and boys lacrosse, and how different are they really? Boys lacrosse has middies, attack, defense, and goalie as positions. A middie does everything, and they go around the whole entire field, and there are 3 of them. Attack is when you are offense, and defense is when you defend the other team from making a goal. The rules are slightly different between boys and girls lacrosse. In boys lacrosse, when a player breaks the rule, they get a punishment. Technical foul is pushing another player behind the back and holding them or their stick. Getting personal is like tripping another player or hitting a person with your stick. When you do any of those things, your team gets one player out who has to go in the penalty box and sit there for a minute or longer. The positions for girls lacrosse has attack first, home second, third home, 2 attack wings, defense point, cover point, third man, defense wing, and 2 center wings. Wings are like middies. They can go anywhere they want to. Girls lacrosse has different fouls than boys lacrosse. They have a major foul, which is slashing another player, or a minor foul is checking another opponent's stick. Some equipment girls need is mouthguards, cleats, goggles, shorts or skirt, shirt or jersey, and lacrosse stick. Boys have helmets, shoulder pads, elbow pads, gloves, shorts, pennies, or shirts, mouthguards, and lacrosse sticks. Well, now you know the difference between girls and boys lacrosse. Do you know how to play lacrosse or what to do? There are many things to teach you about lacrosse, such as what you have to play a real game. The first thing you have to learn about to run, but I think we all know how to do that. Second, you have to learn to cradle. Cradling is a motion back and forth from shoulder to shoulder with your wrist. You have to do this so when you are running, your opponent does not whack the stick and get the ball. Third, you have to learn how to catch the ball. You have to hold the stick up and have your stick meet the ball in your stick's pocket. Then lift the bottom of your stick and continue to cradle. This is done so when your teammate is trying to move the ball around, you know how to catch it. After that is throwing the ball, which is where you have to bend your wrist with your stick and raise the bottom of your stick. You will need to then point where you are going to throw, then toss it. You do this so when you're in a game you can throw it to your teammates or make a goal. Next, you have to learn how to do a ground ball. What you have to do is bend your knees and pick up picks and put your stick head on the floor and scoop the ball into the net and bring your stick up and then do it. You do this so that in the game, if the ball is on the floor, you can scoop it up. Going straight to make a goal. Lastly, you have to learn how to score and the rules. Scoring is just like throwing the ball, but put one foot in front and then throwing the ball. The rule is that you can't go in the crease. The crease is a circle around the goal. Those are the basics there, but there are still some rules about draws, how to face off, and how to jump. Mainly comes down to one rule. Let me teach you about how you can do it correctly and why they do this in a game. A draw is just to start the game, which you do by crossing the sticks and putting the ball between the sticks. Then you throw the ball up in the air, and then the players have to fight for the ball. For face-off, girls do it to start in a game, but if you lose by 4 points, you get the ball automatically. To start a face-off, you have to get on your knees and put your stick on the floor and put it on its side. Then the ball dropped in the middle, and when the whistle is blown, whoever gets the ball first will have an advantage. After learning so much about the game it's played, let's explore the history of the game next. Lacrosse has a history that begins with Native American tribes playing it. Lacrosse is the oldest sport in North America. It was made centuries ago in early 12th century when the Native Americans played a game that they called it baguette. When the natives played, some had fewer people or other times had thousands of people. The natives had fields more than 1 mile long. The French eventually called the game lacrosse because the stick looked like a bishop's staff. The Native Americans practiced lacrosse for war. The tribes that played lacrosse were the Mohawks, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, Senia, and Tercero. These early games really set up the game of lacrosse that we know today. After all that, now you know about lacrosse and how exciting it is. There are difference between boys and girls lacrosse, such as how there are different rules and midfielders and wings. We also covered playing skills such as throwing the ball and catching the ball. After learning about the game and the history of the game, the hope is that you just may want to play lacrosse yourself.
Thank you, Gabriel. I didn't know that Native Americans played lacrosse. Next, we have another sport to discuss, basketball. Wow, there have been a lot of sports. The best African American baseball player was Jackie Robinson. In his record, he has 137 home runs. Let's hear more from Caden.
What is a sport where you have to hit the ball and play a lot of positions? Baseball. Baseball is one of the most known team sports. Baseball is a team sport for kids and adults. People of all ages can play the sport, and if they practice the sport, they can get really good. You can start in middle school and then start into high school. And then you can play also in college, and if you're really good at baseball, you can get drafted in the major leagues. There are a lot of things you can learn about baseball. But baseball is the oldest team sport of all time in history. Henry Chadwick was the person who came up with the idea for baseball. Henry got the name of the sport because he saw that you use a base in baseball. That was the first part in baseball. The second part was where you use some sort of ball in a lot of sports. So he thought it would work in the second part. That's how the name baseball was created. Alexander Cartwright was the person who invented the rules for baseball. He saw there were no rules for baseball, so he was the guy who came up with the rules. So people across the world can play baseball. You just need to know how to play. There are two parts on the field, the infield and the outfield. The infield is where you have to play to stop the ball. The outfield is where you have to play the deepest out of everyone. If you want to play baseball, you have to play a position like first base, second base, shortstop, third base, pitcher, catcher, right field, left field, and center field. The most important position are pitcher and catcher. The catcher gives signs to the pitcher to throw the ball where he wants and tries to stop everything. The pitcher is trying to throw a strike every time. First, the batter. The first ever uniform was worn by the Cincinnati Red Stockings. Baseball is a great sport for kids and adults. Today we discussed the history of baseball, how to play baseball, and equipment needed for baseball. Some of you might not know what all those mean, but that's okay because your parents or you can do your research, and maybe someday you can play the sport called baseball. Thank you, Caden. I didn't know that Alexander Cartwright created the rules for baseball. Next, we are going to learn about a new hobby, Minecraft. In the game, a creeper was actually supposed to be a pig, but it was made the wrong way. Bryn is up to tell us more about it.
Imagine running on grassy blocks, the moon and stars shining. You have a stone sword in your hand, and there are monsters everywhere. You try to run to your house, but a zombie spots you. Minecraft. That was Minecraft. You're probably wondering, what even is Minecraft? Or not. Maybe you just want tips on how to play. Well, knowing Minecraft or not, you'll learn either way. Now, let's learn about how Minecraft was made. Minecraft was first created by Marcus Persson in 2009. Before it became popular, it started out small on Twitch. Then people started playing it and they loved it. Minecraft was a big hit. So Marcus made his own company. He hired Jacob Porser. Together, they made the Minecraft you know and love today. Minecraft has many different game modes. In creative mode, you can destroy blocks in one hit, even indestructible ones. You also have infinite resources, and items don't lose durability. And the best part is, you can fly. In survival mode, you have to look for items, chop down trees, kill animals, and more. You also don't have an inventory, and you lose the ability to fly. Now, adventure mode is just like survival mode, except you can't build. While the different modes are fun, even more interesting are Minecraft maps. Minecraft maps are custom created worlds that you made, and anyone, and I mean anyone, can make one. There are a few actual worlds to learn about as well. The first is the overworld. The overworld is the world that you spawn into. There's cows, sheep, chickens, and much more. The second is the Nether. The Nether is supposed to be an impression of the bad place full of lava, piglins, blazes, and more. The third map is called the End. The End is a literal place in Minecraft, but is the end of the game. The End is full of shulkers, endermen, and the Ender Dragon. It is a challenging but fun journey. Out of those 3 game modes, my personal favorite is creative mode because you can build anything. I've made carnivals, enormous houses, and even tents. In conclusion, Minecraft is a really great game. I hope you'll play it too. I'm sure you'll do something awesome.
Thank you for the great report, Bryn. Wow, I didn't know that Marcus Persson created Minecraft. Now we are going to hear from Jacob about a gaming console called Nintendo. The first Mario game for Nintendo was created in 1983. I can't wait to learn more.
Nintendo is a very popular company and has grown from a playing card company to a successful video game company. Throughout this report, you will learn about Nintendo systems, games, characters, and history. Nintendo was the original Game & Watch that was actually based on a calculator. They developed different systems over the years. The Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, was released in Japan on July 15, 1983. The Super Nintendo system was later released on November 21st, 1990. The Nintendo 64 system later came out on July 23, 1996. These 3 systems mark the beginning of Nintendo's video game systems. Nintendo has come up with lots of games. Nintendo games are kid-friendly for kids ages 6 to 12 years old. Nintendo cares about their graphics and also chose to have no violence in them. They also have role-playing games where the player takes control of the characters of all the games. Nintendo has my favorites are Miitopia, Minecraft Mario Edition, and Super Smash Bros. And all of Nintendo's games, they also have very fun characters. 3 important Nintendo characters are Donkey Kong, Mario, and Pikachu. Donkey Kong is a character that was supposed to be based off of Popeye the Sailor Man. Mario is the mascot of Nintendo. He's an Italian plumber who has the ability to collect items that give him powers. The Pokemon characters such as Pikachu, also known as Pocket Monster, started as a game, then a card, and eventually became a TV show. A company like Nintendo has a long history. Originally, Nintendo was a playing card company. The name Nintendo was based on 3 Japanese words, nin, ten, and do. An employee at Nintendo got the idea of the game for the Game & Watch when he saw a kid playing with a calculator on the way back from a business trip. Hiroshi Yamauchi was originally going to be the president of Nintendo, but World War II happened and stalled the plan. Nintendo had a console war with Nintendo for 10 years, starting in the 1990s. They're still separate companies, but Sega no longer make consoles, so they no longer compete in the same way. Nintendo still remains a very popular game company. Nintendo continues to be a big name in the video game world. I'm sure Nintendo will be around for a long time to come.
Thank you, Jacob. There were a lot of interesting things about Nintendo in your report. Next, we don't just have sports or hobbies. Maddie is going to talk about a well-known man, Walt Disney. Disney was created back in 1923, and she will tell us how it has grown since.
Walt Disney is famous for many things, but most of all for his cartoons and amusement parks. First, I will be talking about Walt Disney and some of his first cartoons. Second, I will be talking about Walt Disney's childhood, and lastly, I will discuss Disney park secrets and fun facts. You may already know Walt Disney as the man who made Mickey Mouse, or as the creator of Disney World, located in Orlando, Florida, as well as Disneyland, which is located in Anaheim, California. Walt Disney, the man, was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1901. When Walt was 18, he worked at a company that made films. Walt's job was to make the pictures. Walt drew the pictures and took photographs of the pictures that he made with a special camera that allowed him to play pictures really fast and turn it into a film. In 1923, Walt moved to Hollywood to make cartoons with his brother Roy. Walt Disney was an interesting man. Throughout his life, he loved attention. He started creating cartoons and doodling early in life. When he was in school, it was no surprise Walt liked art the best. Walt really liked drawing cartoon characters. Walt ended up coming back home in March 1928 with a new idea of a talking mouse, also known to us now as Mickey Mouse. The iWorks studio had to make the Mickey Mouse cartoon secret at first. They did this to make sure that idea would work before they told everyone that the Mickey Mouse cartoon was real. Later in Walt's life, Walt unfortunately became ill, died just before Disney World opened. While he was still alive, Walt hid a few secrets. Originally, Walt Disney wanted Epcot to be an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Now, in present day, this year actually marks Disney World's 50th anniversary. Disney parks are treating this as a huge milestone. It really is. For their celebration, they changed the castle, made new magic bands, made new popcorn buckets, stuffed animals, and sweatshirts, and there is much more to come. Disney World has over 25 resorts on property in range of different prices for different budgets. There are also deluxe hotels and cities that are more expensive. Some of the hotels on property are Art of Animation, Pop Century, and many more. The Contemporary has 10 floors and over 1,000 rooms. Disney World is now worth over $150 billion. Have you heard of a Disney Imagineer? If you don't know what a Disney Imagineer is, they are the people that think of the rides, restaurants, hotels, and more. If Walt Disney could see what his parks have turned into today, he would be happy. He would be happy at some parts, but happy for most parts, but unhappy for some. I am personally a huge Disney fan, and I am happy to have visited his parks a number of times. Walt Disney had a fascinating life and got the ideas for all of his parks started. They have since turned into huge success with more parks and hotels than you can count. We are lucky to have Walt Disney in our world.
Thank you, Maddie. I didn't know that Walt Disney just came home and made Mickey Mouse. Lastly, we have Stella talking about Michael Jordan. He won 6 NBA championships.
Have you ever heard of the name Michael Jordan? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. If you want to know all about Michael Jordan, keep listening. Michael Jordan was a famous basketball player. He also played football and baseball. When he played basketball, he played for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the Chicago Bulls, and the Washington Wizards. Who is he? His full name is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Michael was born on February 17, 1963, in Brooklyn, New York. Michael was one of 5 children. Their parents wanted their kids to focus on their goals. When Michael Jordan was 7, him and his family moved to Wilmington, North Carolina. When Michael was young, he left to play sports. He also played in the National Collegiate Athlete Association championship game in his first year. At that game, Michael scored a winning basket with 5 seconds left. Michael's father, James, worked as a forklift operator for the General Electric Company. His mother, Dolores, was a full-time homemaker when the children were young. Michael had 3 older siblings, James, Larry, and Dolores. He also had a younger sister, Rosalind. Michael Jordan left college after his junior year to play in the NBA. He was drafted by the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan won a spot in the NBA All-Star Game during his first season. He was also named NBA's Rookie of the Year in 1985. Michael was the NBA's top scorer for the record 10 seasons. He also named to be the NBA's All-Defensive First Team 9 times, NBA's Most Valued Player 5 times, and led his team to 6 NBA championships during his career. Jordan won his 3rd NBA championship and 3rd MVP award in 1993. After that, he had just won his 2nd gold medal at the 1992 retirement from basketball in the fall of 1993. This surprised his fans and fellow basketball players. Michael went on to play minor league baseball for a few seasons. He had always wanted to try the sport. He returned to playing basketball with the Chicago Bulls after 2 years of a break. He then led the Bulls to another NBA championship in 1996. Jordan helped the Bulls win 2 more championships in 1997 and 1998. Michael Jordan retired for the 2nd time on January 13, 1999. He stayed involved in basketball, though. Jordan became co-owner of Washington Wizards in 2000. He did not keep this job for long. In 2001, he put on his uniform again and played for the Chicago Bulls team for 2 more seasons. In 2003, Jordan finally played his very last game. In 2006, Jordan became co-owner of the Charlotte Bobcats. Later, the team was renamed and is now called Charlotte Hornets. After in 2010, he became mandatory owner of the team. He was the first former NBA player to become mandatory owner of an NBA franchise. Michael Jordan was a very successful businessman. His Air Jordan brand of Nike basketball shoes are sold by Nike. In 2011, the announced for 71% of all basketball shoes in the United States. Michael Jordan also owns a chain of restaurants called Michael Jordan Steakhouse. When it comes to sprouting quotable inspiration, Michael Jordan might just be the greatest of all time. The 58-year-old basketball legend didn't just win 6 NBA championships and make the number 23 famous over the course of his pro career. He's also had a lot to say about success during the time at the top. All of this coming from an icon like him, it's definitely advice worth sharing.
Welcome to HSP News. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Cameron.
And I'm Jin. And today we have some special guests to tell us all about some history and science.
First up today we have Dominic. Dominic will be telling us all about World War I, a major global conflict that lasted 4 years.
Do you know about World War I? Well, even if you do, here are some new facts. This war was called the Great War for a reason, a European showdown. This war is understated because of World War II, but without World War I, World War II wouldn't have happened. This war was between the Central Powers and the Allies. Little did they know the war would start a new era and kill empires. In World War I, there were 2 sides, the Central Powers and the Allies. The major powers for the Central Powers were Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. On the sides of the Allies, there were the UK, France, Russia, Serbia, and later the United States. France wanted old land back in revenge on the Germans. The UK wanted to demilitarize Germany and fear that they would overpower them. Russia wanted to help its allies and prove itself. The US wanted revenge on Germany and to start the United Nations. Germany wanted to expand and be a major power. Austria-Hungary wanted to keep its territory and punish Serbia. And the Ottoman Empire wanted land back from the British and French. The countries had many plans, but would they all turn out well? World War I is a mess, where gear and army sizes are important. Germany had an 11 million strong military. They wore gray-green uniforms with a single-breasted tunic and knee boots. Austria-Hungary had 8,780,000 men who would use German uniforms, but before they had blue-gray uniforms and a single-breasted tunic pocket and ankle boots. The Ottoman Empire wore a khaki single-breasted tunic with folded collars and breeches, and puties with knee boots. They had a manpower of 2,850,000 men. France had blue-gray uniforms with flat topped kepi hats and a military of 8,410,000. The UK used khaki uniforms, single-breasted tunics, folded collars and puties, and ankle boots, and then a military of 8,905,000. Russia had olive green uniforms, peaked caps for battle. They used heavy hats and great coats with a military of 12 million. Now that we have seen their military, it's time to explore the battles they have fought in. During World War I, there were major battles that were influential to the war, that turned the tide or caused many casualties. One was the Battle of the Somme. The battle lasted from the 1st of July to November 13th. It caused heavy casualties on both sides, with the Germans 650,000 and 450,000 for the British. This was a decisive battle because it relieved the French at Verdun and caused many casualties. Another major battle was the Battle of Verdun. It was a very important battle for the French because it led to the industrial heartland of France. It was the reason for the Battle of the Somme because the French needed the British to divert German troops. It caused 400,000 casualties to the French and 350,000 to Germany. That battle would last from February 21st to December 18th of 1916. The Battle of Tannenberg, which put Germany ahead of the Russians. The Germans took 13,000 casualties, while the Russians suffered 30,000 dead or wounded, and 92,000 were captured, which nearly destroyed the Russian Second Army. The battle only lasted for 6 days in East Prussia. Lastly, the Battle of Gallipoli took place in the Ottoman Empire at the Gallipoli Peninsula, where the British were trying to establish a front in Turkey to protect its own colonies. This battle ended with Allied casualties being 250,000 and Ottoman coming to 235,000 dead or wounded. World War I was a bloody conflict with over 26 million dead. The war ended on November 11th of 1918 with Allied victory. It caused the empires of Germany, the Ottoman Empire, and Austrian-Hungarian Empire to fall. It was a long, grueling conflict, but in the end, it taught a great lesson.
Thank you, Dominic. Very interesting report. This morning, Jaden will be talking about World War II, a war that came soon after World War I.
Have you ever wondered about World War II? Today I will be talking with you about World War II. A few of the topics that we will be discussing are going to be timeline, weapons, and battles of World War II. Since we established that, let's get started. World War II started on September 1st, 1939, 16 days after World War II started. The Soviet leader Joseph Stalin ordered the Soviet Union to invade Poland. 10 days after the Soviet Union invaded Poland, they surrendered to the German military. Poland held for 9 days. On December 13, 1939, a British cruiser took down a German pocket battleship at the Battle of the River Plate. This was the first big naval battle of World War II. On April 8, 1940, Germany invaded Norway, which ended a 6-month period of limited land operation known as Phony War. A month and 2 days later, Winston Churchill replaced Neville Chamberlain as the British Prime Minister. That same day was also when Germany invaded Belgium. On May 26th through June 1st, they trapped the British military in England from Dunkirk, and France survived to fight once more. 10 days after the miracle of Dunkirk, Paris fell to German military and France surrendered 11 days later. Nearing the end, from July 10th through October 31st, The Battle of Britain pit German bombers against British fighters on December 7, 1941. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, instigating a war with U.S. and Germany. Sensing weakness, declared war on America. 4 days later, when you can't have a war without weapons, a number of weapons were used by all major countries during the war. To name a few used, there was M1 Garand, the M1911 pistol, the bazooka, and the Thompson submachine gun. The M1 Garand was a semi-auto rifle. The M1911 was standard issue sidearm for United States. The Thompson machine gun was used in raids, and the weapon was also very deadly. The bazooka was a portable weapon used for taking down tanks. There were 20 major battles, but today we are just going to talk about 3, which are the Alamein, Pearl Harbor, and Midway. Battle with 15,000 casualties and started on July 1st and ended on July 27th, 1942. Pearl Harbor battle started and ended on December 7th, 1941 with 2,400 casualties. Midway started on June 3rd, ended on June 6th, 1942 with 4,000 casualties. I personally find World War II to be both interesting and important to learn about. I hope you enjoyed this moment to learn about history. Thank you. Great report. And now Olivia will be reporting on Egypt mythology, an important history involving worship and gods and pharaohs.
Have you ever wanted to know more about Egyptian mythology? If so, to find out more, keep listening. I'll first be telling you about some important gods and pharaohs in Egyptian mythology. I'll also be telling you about the very well-known curse known as the mummy curse. I will finally be telling you, last but not least, about hieroglyphs, which were their form of writing. The gods and pharaohs are a big part of Egypt mythology and a popular topic. The ancient Egyptians worshipped more than 170 gods and pharaohs. A fun fact is that these gods are invisible, but they have symbols easily seen and noticed by people, like nature, sun, sky, earth, life, and death. The Egyptians believed pharaohs, their kings, are divine and stayed gods after death. 2 important gods are Nut and Geb. Geb is the earth god and Nut is the sky goddess. Those are 2 of the important gods in Egyptian mythology. Hieroglyphs are how the ancient Egyptians wrote and told their stories. In Egypt, you could see them on the walls and sides of tombs. If you can understand what the pictures on the wall mean and say, and you can transfer it to English, then you would be reading hieroglyphs. Ancient Egyptians used hieroglyphic signs or letters for writing a word. Some of their words are a picture of the word it is. For example, it could be of a cow. Hieroglyphs are carved and painted on the walls of tombs, temples, and pyramids, as well as on statues. Only a few priests alive were left who could still write hieroglyphs. For almost 2,000 years, hieroglyphic writing was yet still a mystery no one could solve. However, many people still tried to figure it out. All that has been found out is just about half of Egyptian mythology history. And sadly, we can't tell you more. The last topic we will explore today is the mummy curse. It is very popular in Egyptian mythology. A man named Howard Carter was digging one day and found treasure. He took riches from the tomb without permission, as he had found them. ever since he did, bad things started to happen. The man who paid for the day, Lord Carpenter, died after visiting the tomb from a poisonous infected mosquito bite. It is believed this ancient Egyptian magic cursed anyone who entered the tomb. Anubis, the god of the dead and tombs, is believed to be behind the curse. This question about if the curse is real is still waiting for an answer. This question has surprisingly been asked for years with no real results. Now we have discussed the mummy curse that kills you if you enter a tomb and disturb the dead. We've also covered the hieroglyphs, which is their form of writing, and how they passed along their stories. Lastly, I introduced only a few gods and pharaohs, and there are still so many to learn about.
Thank you, Olivia. I think we all learned something from that. Up next, Brenner will be explaining what black holes are. They very well can make time travel possible. How cool.
Have you ever heard of black holes? You probably don't think about them too much, or you might not have heard of them at all. Well, if you haven't heard of them, then I can tell you more about them. You can find black holes in space with stars and planets and asteroids. You cannot see black holes because they are invisible to the human eye, but they are there and they are mysterious. The birth of a black hole is quite the light show. Scientists know more now than ever about black holes. Black holes come from collapsing stars that are 3 times larger than our sun. When a star that size dies, it blows up, collapsing into itself. Because of gravity, it can make an explosion so large that it creates a black hole. The black hole spins because the star starts spinning faster when it starts to die. Did you know that if a star is too small, it can't become a black hole? Black holes can also cause time travel. Let's talk about this. Do you think time travel is impossible? It may not be. It could be very possible with black holes. Humans can't get to black holes, but we can observe them. They tend to have strong gravity, and if you did get close to them, then you would be stretched out. If you can survive, you would go inside a black hole. You don't know what's inside a black hole. One theory is you would travel to a different dimension, but we are not sure. All we can do is imagine. Was that interesting? Well, it gets even more strange after this. The chances of falling in a black hole are literally 0, but what could happen if someone fell in? I will answer that. If you got close to a black hole, its gravity would start pulling you in. Eventually, once you got close enough, you would die because everything in your body would be stretched out. This is because of the gravitational pull on the human. There is a term for it. It is called spaghettification. If something is stretched out like that. Good thing we are nowhere near any of the black holes. Can you believe that you'd be stretched out like spaghetti if you went near the black hole? Black holes are one of the strangest mysteries in our galaxy. I hope you find black holes as interesting and as cool as I do. Despite the mystery and cool facts, I know I'm glad that I don't live near one. Do you think some of the theories that I mentioned are true or fake?
Thank you, Brenner. I learned a lot from that. Our next report is from Cameron, and she will be reporting on the pilgrims who sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to get to a new world.
Have you ever heard of the Pilgrims? Well, if you haven't, the Pilgrims were the people who sailed the Mayflower across the Atlantic Ocean to what is now known as the USA. The Pilgrims also are the people who got seasick sailing on the Mayflower. They landed in Cape Cod. They were also the people who were so courageous they left their homes to make better lives for their children and themselves. And they are who we will be learning about. The Pilgrims were people who traveled, but why? The Pilgrims left England for many reasons. One is because some of them were separatists, which means they wanted their own church. In England, they had to obey the king's church. They held secret church meetings, and when the king found out, some men were sent to prison.
Another reason was some pilgrims were looking for jobs or work. Some just wanted adventure. So eventually they decided to go to Holland. The pilgrims were there for 12 years. The men worked very hard for little money. Pilgrim parents did not want their children to become soldiers and sailors for Holland, so they ended up with the solution to go on a trip to the New World. The Mayflower carried 102 passengers and 30 sailors. It was not made to do that, but it did. But how? The Pilgrims bought a ship called the Speedwell. Unfortunately, it was small and old. The Pilgrims knew they would need another ship, but they had no money. So they made an agreement with some businessmen in England. The businessmen got the Pilgrims a ship, the Mayflower, with some food and supplies. But of course there was a catch. The Pilgrims would have to work for the businessmen for 7 years. Afterwards they sailed the Speedwell from Holland to England, where the Mayflower was waiting. The Mayflower was built to be a cargo ship. It was made to carry things like hats, clothing, and barrels of wine. It was 90 feet long. It also smelled very clean because leaking wine had gotten rid of bad smells. The Mayflower carried 30 sailors, 78 adults, and 24 children. It was very crowded. Some were supposed to go on the Speedwell, but it was leaky and had to turn around and go back to shore. They began the voyage on August 5th, 1620. Being on the Mayflower was rough. It was crowded and it smelled. People had nowhere to wash themselves or their clothes. It must have been stinky. A baby was born on the Mayflower. His parents named him Oceanus. There were many people on the Mayflower, including a shoemaker, a blacksmith, and a doctor. Men sailed with or without their families. The sailors hated the Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims disliked the sailors. Sailors thought it was funny when they made fun of the Pilgrims for being seasick. One sailor claimed he wanted to throw half of them overboard. People only took the essentials: a Bible box for the family Bible, a cradle if they had a baby, things like cooking supplies, and guns, swords, and tools. Whatever they could not fit in one chest would not be taken with them. You would eat the same food. You would hate it. Most of the time, they ate salted beef, pork, or fish. There were hard biscuits, dried peas and beans, and cheese from Holland, and butter. They were used to a little mold on the cheese. The Pilgrims would have to build charcoal fires in metal boxes, but most of the time the weather was so bad it was dangerous, so most of the time the Pilgrims ate cold food. There were barrels of water and beer. After a while, the water was bad, so everyone, even the children, drank beer. The Pilgrims first saw land on November 9th, 1620. They had reached what is now Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Where the Pilgrims landed, there is now a town called Provincetown. When they saw the land, the Pilgrims were very happy. In the fall, to celebrate the good crops in the New World, they decided to have a party-like celebration called Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was a time for peace and joy. The corn had grown well and there was plenty of food. If they kept it up, no one would be hungry in the winter. Houses were being built. The dangerous illnesses had passed. The first Thanksgiving lasted 3 days. Everyone in Plymouth came. Without corn, not many would have survived. They ate turkey, meat pies, popcorn, corn, vegetables, and seafood. Overall, it was a great first Thanksgiving. Wow, the Pilgrims were really brave. They sailed across the Atlantic Sea for 66 days. It was crowded, smelly, and it was rough, but they didn't give up. And in the end, it all paid off. They were the people who sailed away from the king and his rules to their and our amazing America.
Thank you, Kim. It's always good to learn about history Last but not least, Stephanie will be giving us information about a local New Hampshire park that used to be called Benson Wild Animal Farm. Tune in to find out more.
Do you know what Benson's Park is? Well, if you don't know, it's a park. Well, now it is. Anyway, we'll be talking about Benson's Park today. Benson's Park has been around for a while. Did you know it was actually a zoo? In fact, one of the biggest zoos. This is going to be an adventure. Have you ever thought why it's called Benson's Park? If you think about it, it's pretty obvious. John T. Benson. He is the one who made Benson's Park. John Benson was born in 1879 in Yorkshire, England. John's father was an animal showman touring the British Isles. When he was older, he worked at Lexington Zoo Park and later at Normbega Park in Waltham. Also at Franklin Zoo as an organizer in Boston. Later he wanted to move to Hudson. Then when he got there, he bought 150 acres of land. That was where it began, and it was very successful with it. It was so successful that he was able to make his land bigger. He had over 100 African animals that he bought. Next came circus performers, and that was when it became Benson's Wild Animal Farm. Benson's did not have just circus performers. Oh no, there was way more. Oh yes, they had lots of animals and attractions. They had so many monkeys that they had a monkey stage. If you think that's crazy, just wait. They had a bear pit for the bears to play in, big shows with tigers that jumped through rings of fire. There was a jungle train for kids, and it was only $1.25 every Sunday. So if you ask me when I would go on Sunday. There were big elephant shows, and the elephants would balance on bouncy balls. There were even sea lion bands and lion weddings. Another attraction was 2 great gorillas and lots of fun rides to go on. A new owner came in after that and also made a play world. Even had Mighty Mouse, which was a show for kids back in the olden days. Everything has to end, though, even Benson's, because of the new owner. They had to shut down the wild animal farm, Benson's Wild Animal Farm. You may be wondering why they would shut down. They had everything. But that was the problem. They had too much attractions, and they couldn't afford all of it. Unfortunately, it was all due to the new owner. It's okay, however, because you can still visit Benson's Park today. It may not be a zoo, but it is still a fun park with lots of history. They even still have the gorilla cages, elephant barn, and the lion cages. Fun. Now look what we learned today. It was fun. We learned about how Benson's Park began and how the attractions and what attractions they had. But you can't forget how it ended. It all ended okay, since you can still go and learn more about it. Hope you go soon and visit and enjoy the park's offers.
Thank you so much for listening to these great reports this morning. I hope you enjoy listening to these awesome authors.